approve consent agenda items A through E in accordance with policy BEDB-R.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Educational services.
This evening, we have Dr. Lynn Vineyard, Director of Community Education, who will be providing the governing board with information about the implementation and evaluation of academic parent-teacher teams in the 2011-2012 school year. Dr. Vineyard.
Thank you, governing board members and Superintendent Boyle. I'm very happy to be here tonight to give you an update on the implementation and evaluation of academic parent-teacher teams in this school year. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that thanks to the talents and hard work of many people over the past several years, Creighton School District is recognized as a leader in the field of family engagement and education. As you know, Dr. Maria Paredes developed academic parent-teacher teams here, and just like any great theory to practice initiative, her research is thoroughly grounded in the literature showing that any sustainable and substantial improvement in student achievement depends upon strong family-school partnerships. Dr. Paredes' research on academic parent-teacher teams has been cited in the Handbook on Family and Community Engagement, a national document which recognizes the Creighton School District as providing the best practices in family engagement, giving our families student performance data that is accessible, meaningful, and actionable. And I'm really grateful that during this year, our partnership with Dr. Paredes has continued. I'm on a steering committee with her. We're writing a multi-year grant application to the Helios Foundation for a systemic and implementation plan for systemic family engagement and education. Our district is actively engaged in the Family Engagement Leadership of Arizona, FELA, which is a consortium of representatives from school districts, from community-based organizations, and from ADE. And Creighton District will be presenting the story of Creighton District and academic parent-teacher teams at the Leading Change Conference in June. There's a lot of good work that's been going on and continues here in this field. Dr. Paredes gave me permission to use this slide from her research, and I like to use it because it kind of surfaces a common misconception that parents and teachers, that all of us have. We think that students have spent more time in school than at home. And this slide, although it's kind of hard to read here, kind of illustrates the leverage that we can get to maximize learning time when parents and teachers are partners. So the promise of APTT is that at-home learning plus in-school learning equals academic success. And APTT can give students motivation, more opportunities to learn, academic success, and it gives students pride when they see their parents' connection with their school. APTT gives parents data and resources, materials and activities to practice at home, and I like to think of it as a gentle form of accountability that all parents need to find time at the end of a busy day to practice academic activities with their children at home. Now the next bullet says APTT gives teachers, and I don't want to minimize what teachers give to APTT. They give a lot of their time and expertise to make APTT possible, but in the long term what we hope is that they also receive that time to engage their families in their child's education and results in student learning and academic achievement. So I want to pause just a second and say that when I decided that one of my departmental goals this year was to set up and test some systems of program evaluation for APTT, the first person I went to was Dr. Lynn Spiller with many, many questions. And since August, she has mentored me and coached me in logic models, given me feedback on survey questions, and she set up many pivot tables in Excel. So I want to publicly thank her tonight because It's not only been very productive to collaborate with her, but it's been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate her generosity in sharing her expertise. So, APTT program evaluation, the premise of academic parent-teacher teams is that when we increase parent capacity to engage in their child's education, it leads to improved student academic achievement. So my department asked two overarching questions this year. Does APTT make a difference in parent capacity to teach their children at home? And does APTT make a difference in student progress in learning and academic achievement? As you can see, I've underlined the word capacity because I really want to highlight that the characteristics of capacity that we're looking for can be described as attitude, ability, and action. So if we're really looking to understand our parents' capacity, is parent capacity increasing, we can look for evidence like parent confidence, trust, and willingness to participate with their schools, knowledge, skills, and resources, and of course, the actual doing of it, the consistent at-home practice. So I found a quote from a parent, a mother at Mackin. We did a parent focus group at Mackin with Principal Eric Dupin. And I think this quote, as you listen to it, I think you'll hear the characteristics of attitude, ability, and action. She said, "My youngest son has the most problems with learning. He finished last year with only 57 in reading. But because I had the APTT packet, I worked with him all summer. It was not the same, but now, this year, he went up to 70 in reading. That showed me that working with him, little by little, we are achieving his goals." I almost deleted this slide because it's really violates every protocol for PowerPoints. There's just way too much on it. But I wanted you just to see that we put a lot of thought into deciding what and why we would measure certain things to evaluate the effectiveness of APTT. So really, the key inputs of professional development, support, and accountability, we were looking for that. We were looking for the key outputs of fidelity of implementation. That's the quadrant 2, and it lists the 6 essential elements of APTT. In quadrant 3, we were looking for inputs of parent attendance and parent and teacher participation. And in quadrant 4, we were looking for outputs of quality of the parent's experience and also teacher and parent perception of the effective APTT. And then ultimately, of course, we looked at student achievement data. So for data collection, I collected teacher perceptions with a teacher survey. We collected parent attendance data by counting signatures on sign-in sheets. Parent feedback was collected from parent evaluation forms at the end of the second and third APTT meetings. We held parent focus groups in December, and we collected and looked at iSteep Universal Screener data for students in grades 1st through 8th grade in reading and math. So these two slides are going to show you about some data about the teacher participation. This slide shows you in the rows school years 09-10, 10-11, and the current school year 11-12. And it shows you the scale up of teacher participation in APTT, starting with Dr. Paredes' pilot year in 09-10, her dissertation year in 10-11, and then this year. When you look at the abbreviations for the schools, the grade levels underneath are the grade levels that participated this year in APTT. So it gives you a sense. One of the things to celebrate here is the number 4,343. That's about 2/3 of our students had the opportunity for their parents to participate in APTT because we had so many teachers that were participating. In the teacher survey, I asked the teachers, first of all, to indicate all the professional development in APTT that they had received. Out of 87 responses, you can see that the largest percentage, 40%, indicated that they had received a PD in this framework, and that was from Dr. Paredes. In the second section, I was looking for support. So I asked the the teachers to say if they agreed that their school provided them with the support they needed to, and then the 6 bullets are the 6 essential elements of APTT. So the highest percentage of support that the teachers indicated was that they got the support to provide and model the activities. And as you probably know, the infrastructure that's set up for this framework, the parent liaisons and their parent volunteers make all the parent activity packets. So I think that may be what teachers were referring to. The lowest percentage of support they indicated was to promote the parent network, which is one of the elements, like the team building element of the meeting. In the third section, accountability, I was looking to get teachers to give me their perception or own self-evaluation of their fidelity of implementation. So I asked them to indicate their frequency that they implemented with fidelity these elements. And as you can see, the highest percentage is for providing student data, and the lowest percentage is promoting parent networking. So do you have any questions? I can pause for a minute about the teacher data. Okay. So the next 3 slides are about parents. This is parent attendance at the 3 meetings and the individual 30-minute conference at all the schools. This is average percentages, including makeups. And the reason why Biltmore Prep is highlighted yellow for the 3rd meeting is that tonight they held their last APTT meetings for grades 6, 7, and 8. We asked parents to tell us if they practiced the APTT activities at home between the 1st and 2nd meeting. Out of 1,629 parents, 89% responded yes. And they said that they practiced about 15 to 20 minutes a day, about 3 to 5 days a week. And this is parent self-report. Then we asked parents to tell us which parts of the APTT meeting were the most useful to them. And this was really telling, and it was validated by the responses in the focus groups and in the written feedback. Parents said a lot about the life skill of setting goals and working to achieve them. They also appreciated the practice and the data. The element that they found least useful was the network. And there's a question, about whether parents really, what does that mean to parents? So any questions or comments about the parent data? Well, keep going. All right, so I'm going to use this laser. This is ISTEEP reading data, fall and winter, grades 1st grade through 8th grade. And there are 4 columns. The first column here is APTT in the fall, and the orange shows that in the fall, in APTT classrooms, 40% of the students were at frustration in reading. In the winter, in APTT classrooms, 21% of the students were at frustration in reading. So the change in APTT classrooms was a reduction of 19% of students at frustration in reading. The 3rd and 4th columns are not students that were in rooms that were not doing APTT. And 28% of those students were at frustration in the fall, 18% were at frustration in the winter. So there was a reduction in 10% of the students that were not in APTT classrooms. So when we compare the change between APTT and not APTT, it looks like that it's possible that APTT really gave 9% of our students a boost. Then, if we look at mastery in reading, this is the fall, 22% of the students in APTT classrooms were at mastery in reading in the fall, 41% at mastery in reading in the winter. So there was an increase of 19% of students at mastery. And students not in APTT classrooms, 20% at mastery in the fall, 29% at mastery in the winter, for a boost of 9% at mastery. And then in comparing the 2 changes, it looks that as if APT gave a benefit to 9% of our students.
Dr. Vineyard, How do we choose what classrooms participate in APTT? Is that a decision of the teacher?
This was a school site decision. The very beginning of the year, when Dr. Paredes was still providing, she got some days to help us out, and we met with each school site, with the principals, and each school site made their own decision. So Creighton, Biltmore Prep, and Mackin 100% do APTT. At other school sites, it just depended on the configuration of teachers, and the principals and teachers made different decisions. So it was a school site decision. So then the last data slide is the same idea but for math. So 71% of students in APTT classrooms were at frustration in the fall, down to 37% in the winter, a reduction of 34%. In students not in APTT, 58% at frustration in the fall, 33% at frustration in the winter, a change of 25%. If we compare these two, it's about 11% of our students may have benefited from APTT as the difference that could have conceivably made that difference. At mastery in math, 4% at mastery in APTT classrooms in the fall, 20% in the winter for a change of plus 16%. Not APTT students, 8% mastery, up to 19%, an increase of 11%, with about a 5% difference between the two categories of classrooms. So that's my presentation of the data about APTT. We're going to use these data to go on and create a continuous improvement plan for academic parent-teacher teams, including increased professional development for teachers. We're looking at adding to the infrastructure of support. We already have Title I facilitators and parent liaisons that support this initiative, and we're looking to train teacher leaders at each site, and providing more resources on the web for teachers to get to and parents, and then clarity of expectations using implementation checklists, and of course continuing with program evaluation. So thank you for this time.
Are the sites going to continue to choose whether there's full participation at the site next year?
Yes, I believe that that's true. Although at Leadership Council, we're still talking about some parameters for APTT. We're talking about the calendar, but as far as I can see for now, it will continue to be a school site decision.
Well, we're really glad to have you here, Dr. Vineyard, and thank you so much for stepping into some really big shoes. I think you're doing a great job.
It's true. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Business and Plant. And on the agenda, we have Director of Finance Scott Walmer to present current information and alternatives